I'm going to run through all this with you. So, broadly speaking, it is known what happened. It is understood, broadly speaking, why, though some people will dispute it. I'll share with you what we know for sure, as well as a bit of speculation here. But my God, the market plummeted today. As it turns out, this is the biggest liquidation event in history. In history, folks. And look at it. We're on the other side of this thing. We're still breathing. And frankly, that probably was the bottom. Just to be clear, if you were looking at the price of XRP earlier and you about had a heart attack, just to be clear, there is nothing wrong with XRP. The entire market moved down in tandem. But I was sitting here. I mean, I happened to look at this basically right at the bottom. And XRP, I'll show you there's kind of a dispute depending on what source you're looking at. But I saw the low according to Live Coin Watch right as it hit. I just happened to right at $2.02. And I did a double take and then a triple take. And I was like, no, this can't be right. And I was like, I must be looking at the wrong coin. I was like, nope, that's XRP at $2.02. I'm sure a lot of you had similar responses to that. But in the end, none of this is ultimately going to matter. Frankly, capitulation events, they're just buying opportunities for those who want to accumulate. This is not some sort of signal that the end is near. It doesn't mean the market cycle's over. It doesn't mean crypto's broken. It doesn't mean that everything's done. Cryptocurrencies are still useful. They still have utility. Cryptocurrencies, especially XRP, still have attributes that people find desirable. It's just that there is a cascading liquidation event here. Also, a bunch of people got spooked and panic sold. That's what happened today. But before a day that is now in the history books as it pertains to crypto and absolutely always will be. XRP, as I record, is $2.37. Bitcoin's at $112,546. But it was more than a little bit lower earlier today. Here you can see the 24-hour low for XRP. I don't know why it changed. Earlier it was showing as $2.02. There's something about the way that Live Coin Watch pulls data and calculates automatically behind the scenes that causes the figure to change, even though it really shouldn't. They should probably tighten that up a little bit here. It was earlier it was displaying $2.02, but that's not the actual lowest price that we got for XRP. If you look at CoinMarketCap, for example, you can see that the 24-hour low for XRP was $1.53. So this has to do with where these platforms are pulling data from and how their algorithms are programmed to crunch numbers effectively and output that. So I don't think that most exchanges got as low as $1.53, but some did, and some were a little bit lower than $1.53. This is just what's being reported by CoinMarketCap. I think most were a fair bit higher, but that does mean that XRP on some exchanges basically went down in price in like snap of a finger. It went down by about 50%. Welcome to crypto, everybody. Woo! It's absolutely buck wild. Now, of course, again, it wasn't just XRP. And at the time of recording this, XRP is actually only down 15.73% over the last 24 hours. There are a lot of coins that are down, far worse than that. Even just look at the top 10, like Cardano's down almost 21%. So there are worse figures out there. Definitely Avalanche down almost a little over 24%. HBAR down almost 23%. So this is certainly, a crypto-wide thing, not pertaining to any one coin. And so what caused this? Let's talk about this, folks. This is the headline. Trump threatens massive tariff hike on China over rare earths dispute. And this is what started the thing, but there's a lot more to say about this, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Check this out. President Donald Trump on Friday threatened to slap a massive increase of tariffs on Chinese products imported into the United States to financially counter new export controls that China imposed on rare earths from that country. Trump also threatened in a social media post to cancel his upcoming meeting with President Xi Jinping because of the dispute. We're going to circle back around to exactly that in just a few minutes here, but hang with me. Stock markets dropped after Trump's bellicose Truth Social post about China, in which he said that there is no way that a country should be allowed to hold the world captive with its rare earths policy. Okay, so it spooked the markets. Things started going down, and that is indeed the case. So that was right around 10 a.m. Central Time here. You can see you started to see a slide on the XRP price chart, and it kept sliding for about 6 hours. Same thing for Bitcoin. You can go to the same time period and right around there is when it really started to move. I mean, look here. So you get close to 10 o'clock and then bam, same for Bitcoin. You can pick every single chart's going to look the same in that regard. So it starts going down, it slides down, and the slide continues. And this is the interesting part. The slide continues for about 6 hours, and then it falls off a cliff. Look at this. At 3:50 p.m., Bitcoin's almost $117,000, and then it plummets to $109,000 in very short order. Same story for XRP here. You can see, look at 3:50 p.m., XRP was $2.69, and then it fell to its low. And again, our Live Coin Watch is reporting it now as $2.06, even though they were showing $2.02 earlier. And whatever you think the low is, that's fine. It depends on what exchange. There were different prices for XRP in different exchanges. So that's why. But it happened at the exact same time. So it's the same story. You can see the stock market didn't really fare very well. Now, in terms of percentage loss, nowhere near what you see in crypto, but that's normal. Here's a headline from CNBC. Dow drops almost 900 points. S&P 500 declines the most since April after Trump's new China tariff threat. And that was at 4:20 p.m. Eastern time. And so it would be about a half hour after that, which would be 3:50 Central time, where things really started to fall off a cliff here. So what's interesting about today's sell-off, it's the timing. Think about this. Stocks and crypto both reacted, both for good reason, obviously. I mean, we're talking about risk on assets here, but stocks and crypto both reacted to Trump's tariff threat this morning. But crypto didn't really, truly collapse until hours later, again, around 3:50 p.m. Central, and that's when it fell off a cliff. Now, that delay matters because it shows this wasn't just an instant reaction to news. What actually happened is that the tariff story sparked the first wave of selling, a kind of risk-off signal, and that made traders start closing positions. But crypto markets run on leverage, meaning lots of people trade with borrowed money. So when prices started to slip, that leverage began working against them. So throughout the day, prices, like I showed you, they slowly bled basically for like 6 hours after the news broke, and traders got nervous. And so then, as the afternoon wore on, a chain reaction started. Some big positions hit their stop loss levels or liquidation thresholds, forcing exchanges to automatically sell those positions. And that extra selling pressure triggered even more liquidations. It's a feedback loop, folks. It's a feedback loop that built up quickly once it got to that point. And then everything just exploded all at once. That's why you see that chart that looks like a cliff. That's why you see that. So the gap between the morning and afternoon wasn't really a mystery event. Frankly, it was a system unwinding itself in slow motion. And if you want to call it that, I say slow, 6 hours, that's subjective. But, once enough leverage stacked up under the surface, it only took a small push, a small little baby push to make everything break at once. That's why crypto seemed calm for hours and then suddenly collapsed. And of course, anytime you get an instance like this, you're going to get people delving into conspiracy theory land. You're going to get people screaming manipulation. And I'm not going to say that they're wrong. What I will say at this point is I've seen I've seen assertions stating that. I've seen no actual evidence to this point. But when something this big and this big happens and it's this quick to occur, I'm just going to say I'm open to the concept if anybody has any sort of actual proof. But outside of that, this is the type of thing that you would expect for an event of this magnitude. This was scary sounding tariff stuff, even though I know it sounds like April wants its narrative back, right? It sounds like that, but it was brought back from the dead. So here we are. And when you have something like that happen, yeah, you're going to see capitulation events. So maybe certain people knew certain things. Maybe there's an argument to be made for it actually being manipulation. I'm just the type that wants to see the proof before I'm like, yeah, that was it. I'm just not wired that way. Like I want to see the data and I'm open to it, but you gotta show it to me here because otherwise I know like capitulation events happen in risk-on asset classes, equities, and in crypto. So I'm just going to reserve judgment on that. But I'll acknowledge it's possible. That's just as far as I can go, though. Now, that being said, think about this, and this is actually kind of freaking funny. The liquidation, and also there are people panic selling. Very obviously, there's lots of people panic selling on top of all this. Did it make sense to? Remember I told you I was going to circle back to something? Remember this right here? from the CNBC article. This part reads, Trump also threatened in a social media post to cancel his upcoming meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping because of the dispute. Okay, well, now look at this headline after the bloodbath in markets today. This is from 6:04 p.m. a couple hours ago from Reuters. Here's the headline. Trump says China trade move shocking. Xi meeting not canceled. So there you go. Threaten to cancel the meeting. Markets fall apart. People get liquidated. Net worths go down substantially. I mean, frankly, at its lowest, I probably lost like a third of my entire net worth today. I didn't crunch the numbers, but just kind of quickly thinking through it, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere in that neighborhood. And it doesn't matter because it's just on paper. Like I didn't sell anything, obviously. And it doesn't matter. The market's going to keep trending up. So I know it doesn't matter. So I have zero fear, zero concern about this, quite literally. I've been in the market since 2017, never sold a single XRP. I've never cashed out to United States dollars. Market trends to the upside despite these events. I've been through tons of capitulation events. This is another one. But think about this. After all that, all the market bloodbath, then Trump's like, I didn't cancel the meeting. Jesus Christ, man. Jesus freaking Christ. It's hilarious. It's hilarious, but it's also stupid. And so many people were absolutely financially harmed today. As reported by Coin Bureau, look at this. This is seen 1.5 million times, and it was posted just a few hours ago. Breaking. Crypto liquidations soar to $9.4 billion in 24 hours. The largest single-day event ever. Bigger than Luna, bigger than COVID, bigger than FTX. We just witnessed history. And folks, I lived through all those capitulation events. Luna, the pandemic, FTX. I lived through all of them. None of them scared me. I bought in those events. During COVID, that presented me with my lowest purchase price for XRP ever. I purchased XRP at 15 cents. That's the cheapest I was ever able to purchase it, March of 2020. And I talked about it on my channel at the time. I was thrilled to have that opportunity. And yeah, my net worth was down like everybody else's was at the time, but it was an opportunity, okay? March of 2020. And then I bought more crypto when FTX collapsed, November 2022. And right now, I actually didn't purchase anything today, although the market had already rebounded a fair bit. And frankly, if I'm going to buy, I need to be sufficiently enticed to a way greater degree because my crypto bags are so freaking heavy. Like it's frankly, at this point, it really does take a lot to entice me. And if I could have magically bought closer to that bottom today, I would have been interested. But then there was also the problem where, exchanges didn't work. I shared this post a couple hours ago. The trouble with capitulation/liquidation events like this is you can't count on being able to access exchanges like Coinbase. And so this is a point where Coinbase is technically back up, but this is from the Coinbase app on my phone. I took a screen grab of this. Degraded performance. So we are aware that some users may be experiencing latency or degraded performance when transacting. Our team is investigating this issue and will provide an update shortly. Your funds are safe. Okay. But they were actually literally down along with most exchanges. So even if you wanted to buy the bottom, pretty damn difficult. If you had some purchase orders set and the price was hit, fine. I saw a lot of people celebrating they got those filled, and congratulations to you very sincerely. But if you wanted to make a move in that moment, you really couldn't. I mean, it was difficult anyway. Exchanges were down. And that's another thing I hate about all this. Rob Paul, he experienced, even aside from that, he experienced an issue. So Rob Paul, of course, former Goldman Sachs executive, very famous guy in crypto, 1.2 million followers for a reason. He's the founder and CEO of Global Macro Investor and Real Vision. And after that fall off a cliff moment at 4:22 p.m. Central, this is about a half hour after it began, he says, desperately trying to move money out of bank into crypto. Near impossible in any reasonable time. Ugh. Oh, anyway, still a gift. So he views it as an opportunity, and this is what you're going to find from anybody that's been in crypto for more than like 5 seconds. So I understand there's some people that are going to be afraid out there, especially if you're newer to crypto. The newer you are to being in crypto, the more likely you are to be afraid. I'm telling you, there's a reason I'm laughing about this. It's because it's ridiculous. It's silly. It didn't need to happen, yet it did. And I also know that it doesn't matter. It's not going to change big picture, the trajectory. It doesn't change anything. The market cycle's not broken. It just scares people. I've been through too many of these things. Like was cited by Coin Bureau, Luna, FTX, the pandemic, all that stuff. I've been through all those. All those were touted as the end of the world by certain people. Yet here we are. The market ended up grinding higher. This one will be no different. It's the biggest one in history. So, okay, cool. Note for the history books, but it doesn't actually change anything for us. Here's a post from Tropic. It's the guys that created Glassnode and Swissblock that run this account. And they seem to be curious about the manipulation concept. And like I said, if you got evidence, I'm all ears. I really mean that. And maybe there is something to it. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just not ready to jump on that bandwagon because that's just not how I'm wired by nature. If I'm going to believe something, then I need some form of evidence here, because I also know these types of things can just happen for actual reasons, and it's not always manipulation, But he said here, biggest market manipulation event of the cycle. This is why you don't over-lever. Well, I'll pause here to say, that's why you shouldn't use leverage. That's my humble opinion anyway. But then they wrote here, this is likely going to be undone by beginning of next week. Yeah, and so that's my suspicion as well. I don't know what the timeline's going to be, mind you, but I think sooner rather than later, we're going to see prices roughly back to where they were before this happened. Probably sooner than later, but it's going to happen. So for anybody who wants to purchase, even though the market's done a fair bit of recovery since then, a lot of people are going to view this as an opportunity. Market cap for the crypto asset class, $3.66 trillion. Just for some context here, I think it's good to have some perspective when stuff like this happens. Just keep in mind that the market cap for the crypto asset class before the election, less than a year ago, was $2.2 trillion. So even after this pullback, we're still sitting here, and yeah, the market's recovered a little bit. We're at $3.66 trillion. So just have some perspective. This is way better than a year ago, even after this most recent crash, this historic crash here. So it's just something to consider. Also, I found it fascinating that that Bitcoin kind of dropped to the lower end of what Credible Crypto would have found as plausible. Not that he thought it was going to happen, but this is a black swan event. Like, this is absolutely a black swan. But Credible Crypto, before this happened, was saying, makes sense. It's safe zone that won't validate his perspective if Bitcoin drops as low as roughly 108,000 rather. So if it's from 108,000 to 118,000, nothing to worry about there. And I'd actually reported that on my channel, probably just yesterday, actually. And it's just kind of interesting how he found that as a key level, and that's about where Bitcoin bottomed during this crash. It's kind of interesting, and it's bounced up a bit since then. This is not something to freak out about. It's just quite simply is not. No matter what you think, no matter what your emotions are making you feel. And we'll see. So like a lot of analysts think that was the worst of it. And I mean, once you get the cascading, like there's typically one really huge one, and we just went through that. So I'd be surprised if there's another one of even close to significant magnitude, even if the market goes a little bit lower. But either way, that was probably about it. I mean, the people that are guessing that, all those chart analysts that are guessing, yeah, that was probably the worst of it. I saw the blockchain backer say something like that even. They're probably right. Because again, just historic norms indicate that when it happens, there's the one big one, and maybe it takes a while to get things moving back to the upside, but that probably was it. So I don't know what the prices are by the time you're watching this. Hopefully not lower than this, but it's possible. Either way, I don't think you're going to see something of that magnitude in all likelihood again anytime soon. So we will see. But it still makes sense to be excited here and just laugh at the stupidity of all this nonsense. Like, this is completely ridiculous. Didn't have to happen, yet here we are. And this is not the video that I thought I would be making this evening. But hey, crypto surprises you sometimes, folks. Crypto absolutely surprises you. You get the opportunity for life-changing wealth, but not without going through stuff like this. And there's going to be another event like this in the future for a different reason that's going to be to the same or similar magnitude, maybe even worse. And that one won't be the end of the world either. This stuff is just going to happen from time to time. Seems like every few years you get something like this.